Mandolin, schmandolin. I'm the human mandolin. Hola mi gente, I'm Aarón Sánchez. I'm a chef and author of this new book, which is a memoir, which is called Where I Come From, Life Lessons from a Latino Chef. And today, I'm really stoked about preparing one of the recipes that's featured in this book. Tío Mario's, my uncle, famous Chile Colorado. And every time that I would travel and be on the road for an extensive period of time, I would call him, and on my way home, I would please say, can you make me that Chile Colorado? Because there's nothing like being away and having that beautiful smell of those toasted chiles and that braise kind of beckoning you into the door. So we're gonna go ahead and make the Chile Colorado. Now, when you think of the word Chile, you're thinking maybe, you know, diced beef chile that hails from Texas, right? That sometimes has beans in it, you know, the whole 9 yards. But this is literally a braise of beef. And it's something that is very traditional to the northern part of Mexico where I'm from and where our family's from. It starts with the idea of peeling chiles. I have some guajillo chiles. I have the pasilla chile, and then the chile ancho, which is one of my favorites that has that smoky essence. So I'm gonna just remove the seeds. Simple guajillos. If you didn't have a chance to have chile guajillo, you can always go with like a little New Mexican red. That's also another option. Then I'm gonna work with some chile árbol. Now these chile árbol, the word árbol means tree, so they hang off these little miniature trees. The best way I can sort of kind of associate it with is like a cayenne. The reason that I'm using these 4 different chiles is because they all serve their own purpose. The chile ancho, that's gonna impart a smokiness. The chile pasilla is really there to add some sweetness and a little bit of that bracing heat. The chile guajillo is used primarily to give it color. And then the chile árbol is where you just get that heat. So now that I have all these chiles, I'm gonna put them here on a cast iron skillet. You wanna toast these chilies because you gotta think of these chilies as they're dormant, right? They need to be reinvigorated and they need to wake up a little bit. Same thing with dry spices and whole spices. You gotta toast them to release their essential oils and really bring out their flavor. And then we're gonna soak them in stock to make them pliable. And that's really gonna help when we start to puree these. It's gonna render some smoke. It might kind of make you cough, but you kind of build a resistance to this if you've been doing it a long time. I'm gonna add them into this boiling stock, and then I'll take just this little bowl, and then at that point, you're good. And let it do its thing. But in the interim, is start to get all the prep ready for the actual Chile Colorado. So you can do this with pork, or you can use short rib, which I have here. You're gonna braise this for about 2.5 hours. So you want it to have a good amount of fat and marbling, so as it cooks, it doesn't basically turn to wither away to nothing. So I'm gonna cut these into some manageable pieces. We're gonna start to sear this and really start to bring together a lot of those initial flavors. As my pot is getting nice and hot, start to season this meat. Now I like to do it like this ahead of time in a bowl, because then I'm assured that I'm gonna have that even distribution of salt and pepper. So I put a little bit of oil. Why do I put oil? Because it allows for that seasoning to adhere. Because you lose about 60% of your salt and pepper on steaks because you don't have a little medium to allow that seasoning to stick and adhere. And I'm being very generous with that salt, guys, okay? Because this beef is gonna need a lot of it. Fresh cracked pepper, get in there, then I'm gonna start to sear this in batches. So you wanna make sure that all of that beef is in direct contact to the heating surface. And I'm just gonna let it do its thing. So to this, I'm gonna chop some onion. I'm gonna add some red bell pepper. I'm gonna add some carrot, and of course, garlic. So the idea is you just want to really kind of sear it on one side. And the reason I like to do that is because one side you have that crust which adds texture and flavor, but on the other side, because it's kind of raw, it allows that broth and the chile to really do its thing and get in there. All right, so now I have all of that, which are my foundation flavors. The meat looks fantastic. I'm gonna remove all of that, and then I'm gonna start to go in with the aromatics. And to this, add a little bit more oil, okay? Don't want to rush this process here, guys. You really want to take your time and make sure that those vegetables break down. Now that that's cooking, I'm going to add a couple bay leaves, hojas de laurel, right? Very important. When you add spices, you gotta remember that these spices have been ground, pre-ground. That's why I like to add them to this initial stage of the foundation flavors to kind of really draw out some of its flavor. Cumin, I have some Mexican cinnamon. Canela, it's called celeón. I have some Mexican oregano. As this is cooking, I'm gonna really be conscious of when I add my meat back, because you don't wanna do it too soon where all these aromatics haven't had their chance to break down and those spices to bloom. So I'm happy where the aromatics are at. I'm gonna add the meat back into the actual pot, and all those juices that have leached out, that's also going in there for sure. Make sure everything's nice and incorporated. Stock, you can use beef broth, you can use chicken broth, even vegetable, whatever you have available. And then now, I'm gonna address the chile puree that's really gonna give this a lot of character and really what makes it delicious. I'm gonna take all of that liquid and the chilies, and I'm gonna puree that, okay? I'm gonna add all of that chili puree along with the stock, the aromatics. I'm gonna give it a nice little stir. What you wanna do is you wanna let this come up to a simmer, and then we're gonna cover it, and then we're gonna put it in the oven to braise. So I'm gonna go about 375 for about 2.5 hours. And then we should be good to go. So next, I'm gonna be making the rice that's gonna accompany the Chile Colorado. I have some white onion here. This will start to be some of those foundation flavors of the actual rice. And what I love about this rice is that it's fragrant. It's gonna be a perfect foil for all that sauce or caldo that comes from the Chile Colorado. I'll be using some long grain rice. I'll take some garlic as well. I like to always use fresh garlic. Don't ever buy that pre-peeled stuff. I actually like a little bit of salt too on my garlic, because it kind of releases some of that liquid and allows it to break down and mince a little bit more. So I'll kind of just combine my onions and my garlic. And then to this, I have some tomatoes, which is from the Vice Munchies garden. And never remove the seeds from a beautiful tomato. That pulp is where all the magic happens. In a nice pot, I'm gonna add some good blended oil. You can use canola, grapeseed, whatever you have. So I'm gonna add short grain rice it's been kind of rinsed a little bit, kind of release those starches. And the idea here is you wanna just really allow the bran or the outer part of the kernels of rice to kind of pop and to be able to absorb that broth. And the idea here is you want to kind of get it a little golden brown and a little nutty. So as that starts to toast, I add the onion, then I'll put a little bit of salt right at the beginning. I'll also add some of that tomato, the broth. So I'm gonna do basically a 2-to-1 ratio, right? You can cook this obviously on the stove top, let it cook low and slow, and then just do its thing there. Or another little technique is you can actually take it up to this stage and then cover with a lid and bake it. The actual pot is being attacked by heat from all over, so it allows that rice to cook a little bit more evenly. I would not put it into the oven until it actually comes up to a boil or a simmer. Very important. I like to do mine at 375. Perfection. I'll turn this down just a scooch, and that should take about 15 to 20 minutes. So our Chile Colorado has been cooking for about 2.5 to 3 hours. It's beautiful, tender, melt in your mouth. I'm gonna remove that Chile Colorado and start to assemble the burritos. Oh my, here we go. Look at that. Tell me that that is not an invitation to eat right there, my friends. I'm gonna take some broth and sauce, and I'm just gonna lay that on the bottom of this baking dish. Now the reason being is, I want this to kind of be the base for, in essence, this little burrito casserole, if you will. And that's gonna kind of anchor everything. So this step is not very traditional, to be honest. This is more something that you do when you're cooking for a large family or for a group setting. Because it just, traditionally in Juarez, you just have a Chile Colorado burrito, and that would be it. So baking it here is sort of my own little addition, and something I like to do for my family. I was brought up by, if it's something that has beef, you use flour tortillas, because flour tortillas are more prevalent in the north, where there's more beef. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a nice amount of this Chile Colorado, and We're gonna start to form the burritos. So I have a nice little foundation layer. I have this rice. Then I'm gonna just let that blanket the Chile Colorado. Then I'm gonna kind of roll this in like that, cover the edges, and then kind of ensure that it's all in there. You could take some of this. I like to take just the ends and cut them off. And then that goes right in here, guys. And trust me, when you serve this for your guests, you're making lots of people happy with this one, okay? It's just so much fun, so delicious. And I just roll. Now that I've assembled the burritos and have them in this casserole, what I'm gonna do is take a little bit more of that residual sauce and give it a little bit more love, a little bit of amor. So I have that sauce hitting the bottom part of this casserole and then also on the top. Yes, indeed. You gotta talk to your food, man. Get up in there, dude. Check in with it. You know what I'm saying? Now to this, I'm gonna take shredded cheese here. Use whatever you want, you know? And the idea being is we're gonna just bake this and let it just be that accent. So this is more of an American touch. Obviously, you can use queso blanco or queso Oaxaca, but this is kind of my nod to like Taco Tuesdays here in this country. I want to give a little love to my American brethren. So now this is going to go in the oven for about 15 minutes till that cheese bubbles and kind of has a little crust on top, and then we're ready to serve. Now we're going to remove it and get down to business. Look how gorgeous that is. Man. So a couple finishing touches. We're going to add a little bit of radish. Almost like little scales, I like that. And then to this, I'll take some cilantro, just a nice little rough chop. And this is like just those finishing touches that just take it to that next level, okay? Just to finish, some cotija cheese. Now this is kind of like that, I call it the seasoning cheese, because it has a good sharpness and a nice salt content to it. And there you go. Here's a beautiful Chile Colorado burrito casserole. I finished it with some cotija cheese, cilantro, and radish. And this is my favorite part, when I get to taste the fruits of all my labor. I should do this for a living. That's absolutely delicious. That beef as it's broken down, it's tender. All of those chiles are in perfect balance and harmony. They're not competing with one another. And I love the little salty component of the cotija cheese on top, some freshness with radish and the cilantro. It's just hitting on many different cylinders, and it's just a bite that takes me back home. And this recipe right here, Tio's famous Chile Colorado burritos, is in my new book, my memoir, Where I Come From, Life Lessons from a Latino Chef. Also, if you want to find out more information in the recipe, click the link below.